Good week, everybody. Good week. Good week. Good work out of everybody. Good work out of you. All right, not quite done with a week, but you guys know what I'm talking about. I appreciate you guys being a part of the show. What is going on? Friday, March 20th. It says 8:01, but I started at 8. I just want everybody to know that. Sliwa, why you late? I'm not late, okay? Started at 8. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for being a part of the show. Post-game show last night. What did they do? They did, I think, 3 games in 4 nights. And I think tomorrow's another 3 games in 4 nights. Lakers are cranking out games. About to sneeze, maybe not. All right, we got a lot to get into today. Plus, I do have a guest to get us ready for the Lakers and the Magic game tomorrow. My God, what is going on with Lakers basketball? Can you imagine if 2 weeks ago I made a prediction and I said Lakers are going to start running through all these teams above 500. Lakers are going to start running through all these squads. Luka's going to not only work his way into the MVP conversation, but legitimately can be the MVP of the league. I said that 2 weeks ago. My channel would have been brought down. And here are the Lakers right now doing exactly that. All right, we got a lot to get into. Got a lot of topics here that we're going to get into. I know there's a lot of comments. People obviously want to give their opinion of what's going on around the NBA, around the Lakers. So we're going to get ready to do that. Please do me a favor. Subscribe to the channel if you don't mind. Take a couple sips of your coffee. And we'll wrap up the week this week with a solid show today. Member show coming up at 10 a.m. And then tomorrow we'll react after the Lakers take on the Orlando Magic. All right, here's what we got going on for today. Here's what we got going on. 8 straight W's. How bad have my predictions been? I'm like, guys, I really don't think they're going to beat the Rockets on a second to back-to-back. They beat them. Guys, I'm not sure. That Miami game, they're going to get in at 4 or 5 in the morning in Miami. Lakers beat Miami as well. We'll talk about this obviously this 8-game winning streak for the Lakers, what it's looked like, some stats that come from the game that are pretty amazing. Clearly the Lakers playing as good a basketball as they've ever played. Where I want to spend some decent amount of time in today's show as well, where I want to put some effort towards. I don't want to hear people saying, hey, should Luka be in the MVP conversation? No, here's what I want to hear. Why wouldn't Luka be the MVP? So that's the conversation that I want to have in regards to Luka. There's some unbelievable players in the NBA. If somebody wants to make a case why Luka should not be the MVP, I'm happy to listen to it. But the whole, hey, he's in the conversation, that's all BS. I mean, obviously he's in the conversation. Everybody knows that. The question now just becomes, is Luka the best player in the world today? NBA.com put out their power rankings that they typically have around the MVP, and he just shot up to number 2 after what he's been doing over this 8-game winning streak for the Lakers. And by the way, I think the beauty is it's not just winning. It's not Luka just balling out. It's Luka balling out. And because he's balling out, the Lakers have won 8 games in a row and solidified themselves at number 2 or at number 3 in the Western Conference. I also want to have the conversation about the Lakers being a real threat in the Western Conference. I think I have, maybe I just created this in my own head. If you're top 5 in the NBA, in the entire league, you got a shot at winning an NBA championship. And I can't name 5 better teams than the Lakers. I'd put the Lakers at number 5. And I think there's some other question marks that you could bring in the question now with some injuries and things along those lines. But the conversation about the Lakers being a real threat in the Western Conference, we're going to get into that as well. Organizational clarity. I saw this on Get Up this morning, and I kind of love the line of it, that maybe part of the reason why the Lakers are having the amount of success they are having is because all of a sudden everybody knows their role. So I think that's obviously a great topic that we can get into as well. Let me just send this. So I think that's obviously another angle we could get on the Lakers. And then Jason Beede, who covers the Orlando Magic for the Orlando Sentinel, he came on a couple weeks ago when the Lakers were kind of right in the midst of their struggling. What is this team? Now, all of a sudden, the Lakers just a completely different team. and he's going to come on and get us ready for Lakers Magic tomorrow. So we'll do that. Got NBA news, got the weekend preview, and then we're going to call it definitely call it a day, but we'll still have some more stuff to do the rest of the way. All right. Let me take a look at a couple of the comments here before we get the show started, and we can go from there. So we'll take a look here. What's everybody saying? I got somebody throwing a very generous super my way. Very generous. I'm going to get to that in just a second. But thank you very much. We'll get into that one in just a second. All right. The Walter effect. Lakers win in the finals. Luka going to get MVP. AR going to get paid. Bron going to come back on vet minimum. Farewell to that's a lot right there. That is a lot right there. There's a lot of predictions there. I don't know what the Walter effect is, but I just know that how the Lakers are playing right now is as good a basketball I've seen the Lakers play. I've seen the franchise play in years. I mean that when I say years. And I think that kind of does go back to the organizational clarity. Let's get some more here. We need more predictions, Lee. No, you don't. No, you don't. Trying to make predictions here. I look like an idiot after every one. Did they really win yesterday too? I'm like, all right, that's enough. I mean, there's no way they're going to win this game as well. They go down 9-0 to start the game. They're down 15 in the first quarter. They're down 13 to end the first quarter. They give up 42 points, and then they just shut the Miami Heat down after that. All right, let's get some more here. Lakers finally making it fun to watch. That part you're right about. I agree with that. Third seed for sure should get Luka. The MVP has been insanely good. My jaw dropped last night. All right. OKC and the Spurs have a lot better rosters. Just look at the results without Shea and Wemby. That would make a case there. I think that would make a case there for I'm assuming Luka here to be MVP. Okay, let's get the show started. 2 seconds here. All right, I'm ready to go now. Let's get the show started. I am going to just get one super in here real quick. Steve, very nice of you. Badass, very nice of you. Throwing a 20 spot at the show. So thank you very much for doing that. Appreciate you starting off the Friday that way. Luka's MVP. Sliwa, love the show. Don't always see eye to eye, but you're still my guy. Steve, that's even better. We're not supposed to see eye to eye on every topic. So as long as you're putting your comments and your thoughts and giving me an objective opinion, then it's all good. But thank you for this. I appreciate that. I'm going to keep this up here for a second. Give this man for some love for throwing a 20 spot in, and we'll get the show started. All right, so 8 games in a row for the Lakers. Beat the Heat yesterday, 134 to 126. Let me just kind of let me throw some stats out here because I think it's important to point out what the Lakers have been able to accomplish before I get into Luka. And then once I get into Luka, I might stay on Luka for a second here because this man is doing something right now that, we just – it's as good of a stretch as you can possibly have. So there's nothing I could really add on top of it other than to point out how special it's been and then play a couple of clips to talk about Luka. So the 8-game winning streak for the Lakers – we know obviously what it's been. It's the second night of a back-to-back, third game in 4 nights. They landed in Miami around 5 a.m. yesterday, and nobody made any excuses. Nobody at all. I thought there was an interesting quote from Austin Reeves yesterday. He said this. He's been dealing with a wrist injury. And if you'd have told me last night that a lot of guys sat out, if you'd have said, hey, LeBron's sitting out, second of a back-to-back, the man's 41, I'd be like, absolutely. If you told me Austin Reeves is going to be out dealing with a couple, the wrist is bothering him, if you'd have told me Luka was going to sit out, Marcus Smart's going to sit out, I don't think anybody would have had a problem with it. Mission already accomplished because he went out and took Houston for 2 straight games. Here's what Austin Reeves said on why he played on Thursday. He said, when LeBron said he was playing, I was like, I can't let a 41-year-old play, and I don't play. So signed up to play. So did Luka, and we went and grinded the win out. It's not an easy one, especially with the pace that team plays at. He's talking about Miami. What I think has been really, really cool over this 8-game stretch for the Lakers, you got a lot of guys that are sacrificing. You got a style of basketball that is sustainable. The way the Lakers are playing right now is sustainable. Now, maybe Luka's not sustainable dropping 40 every night or 50 every night or 60 every night. Maybe it is. I don't know. He's obviously that special. But the team has won 8 games in a row, not because they got lucky. The team won 8 games in a row, not because they're playing shitty teams. The team won 8 games in a row. You could stack if you're looking for, well, how did the Lakers win 8 games in a row? Sometimes I see the Lakers, I'm getting ready. They got this team coming up or that team coming up, and it says, well, this squad's won 4 games in a row. And then I look at their opponents. I'm like, yeah, they beat the Pelicans, they beat the Warriors, they beat the Kings, and they beat crappy teams. What makes this special for the Lakers, the 8 straight W's, is at a time where they really, really needed some quality wins, they're getting them. They're beating teams, they're blowing them out. They're winning close games. They're winning in overtime. They're winning in regulation. They're shutting down the star from an opposing team. They're kind of winning in every style that you could think of. They can win with Austin Reeves playing great, Austin Reeves playing bad. There's only been a couple consistencies, and a couple of those consistencies is Luka's just been insane. He's been unbelievable. But 8-game winning streak for the Lakers. Obviously, just incredible what they've been able to do. And now, as we kind of start getting a little bit more into the details, we'll talk about where the Lakers are in the Western Conference and if they have a legitimate shot again out of the West. I'll go back to saying what I'm saying. If you're top 5 in the NBA, you got a chance to make the NBA Finals. And I don't know what percentage chance the Lakers have, but they have a chance to make some noise and get into the playoffs as one of the hottest teams in the league. And we still got, a stretch of games left to go. But I don't think anybody can convince me right now that the Lakers are not talented enough and don't have a star that can be a wildly a big-time headache in the postseason once they get there. Let's talk Luka. Steve, thank you again for the 20 spot. I appreciate it very much. I'm going to take this down, but thank you again for doing that. Very, very nice of you to send over that 20. All right. Let's talk Luka here. How do I want to start Luka? All right, let's start with this. Eric, pop up the NBA.com, the latest MVP chatter about the most valuable player in the NBA. NBA.com had this out today. Okay. Let's keep it right there at number 1, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Okay. I don't get to watch Shai every night. I don't get to watch Wemby every night. I don't get to watch Cade Cunningham every night, Jaylen Brown, and Nikola Jokic. All right. I don't get to watch those players every single night. I do get a chance to obviously watch Luka Doncic every single night. Luka's numbers are absurd. They're unreal. They don't make sense. He's putting up numbers on a night-in, night-out basis. It's as good of a stretch that I've seen probably since Kobe. All right? And I'm just, again, I'm not watching these other players. I'm just watching Luka every single night. NBA.com came out with their MVP ladder, and SGA is sitting at number 1. All right, let's scroll to number 2. You cannot go any further without putting Luka. And the thing I do like about what NBA.com did, is they are putting Luka in that number 2 spot. Now, I'm going to make a case here, and I'm just going to make a case because I think it's important to do so, and we'll go from there. There is no, I don't want to hear anymore about, hey, should Luka be in the MVP conversation? Honestly, it's an absurd thing to say. What do you mean, should Luka be in the MVP conversation? The Lakers are number 3 in the Western Conference. Nobody has better individual stats than he does, maybe other than Nikola Jokic. If you want to make some cases for some players because of what they do on the defensive side, I can't argue that, and I'm okay with that. But if the Lakers end up the number 3 seed, which they probably will, and Luka still has these numbers out here, here's the question I would ask when it comes to the MVP conversation. The question I would ask is, if you took Luka Doncic off the Los Angeles Lakers, what would the Lakers look like? They would be a lottery team, and they would crumble, no question about it. If you took Shai Gilgeous-Alexander off of the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're not winning an NBA championship, clearly not going to win a chip, but they're still going to be really, really good. I mean, that team's got They got players everywhere. They got wild depth. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander because I think SGA is a brilliant player. He plays both sides of the ball. But the impact Luka has on the Lakers over the impact Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has on the Oklahoma City Thunder, Luka is more needed for the Lakers than SGA is needed for the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Lakers are a lottery team if Luka's not there. The Oklahoma City Thunder are a playoff team and probably still a headache, but they're not going to win an NBA championship. You want to make a case for Wemby? That's fine. You want to make a case for Nikola Jokic? That's fine. You want to make a case for Cade Cunningham? Unfortunately, with his injury now, I don't know what's going to do. I would make more of a case for Jaylen Brown and what he's been able to do for the Boston Celtics. That's just me. I have a very, very difficult time thinking that Luka Doncic is not only one of the top 2-3 players in the league right now, but I have a very difficult time thinking that Luka is not a very, very strong considerate to be MVP this year. And if he won MVP, I also wouldn't be shocked that he won it. Maybe I'm shocked because nobody's been talking about him enough, but if you weren't talking about him enough, let me give you guys some numbers and some stats. And then I also want you guys to see if Luka Doncic cares about winning the MVP. Here's what Luka has done in these 8 games for the Lakers where they've won 8 games in a row. 41 points a game, 9 rebounds, 7.5 assists, 2.3 steals, shooting 50% from the field and 42% from the three-point line. The Lakers have gone from not even in the mix of a conversation to all of a sudden, now people are starting to say, hey, what would it look like with the Lakers and the Spurs in a 7-game set? Lakers went from, are they going to be 6th, maybe 7th in the Western Conference, to they've solidified themselves at number 3. In the process, they beat Detroit, Minnesota, Houston, all these teams that were in front of them. They have the tiebreaker over all 3 of those teams, and they're going to probably sit pretty comfortably in the number 3 spot in the Western Conference. So what Luka's been able to do over this stretch of all season, but really over this stretch over these last 8 games, has moved him up in a real MVP conversation. And, I'm not the best to kind of gauge what the resume should be for an MVP. I'm just, it's not my world. But I'm watching what I think is the best player in the world right now. Now, that doesn't mean he's the best player in the world for the entire season. Of course, what you do in the postseason is everything if you're a Los Angeles Laker. But I think what we're seeing from Luka at the moment, he's got a legitimate chance to be the most valuable player of the year this season. Whether this means everything to him or it means nothing to him, I don't know. But let me just play this clip real quick because yesterday in the post-game show, he was asked about this. And I think his answer, I think it kind of sheds a little bit of light of how Luka feels about the conversation and why there isn't more conversation about Luka for MVP. Take a listen.
Hey, Luka, JJ said you should be included in the MVP conversation, and then you hear the entire crowd chanting MVP as you're shooting free throws. So what are your thoughts on that?
It was pretty impressive, especially away game in Miami, you hear the whole crowd chanting MVP. It was, what I think every player wants to hear. So, I got a little goosebumps, so it was pretty special.
Just as a follow-up to that, are you surprised you're not more prominently included in that conversation?
That's you guys, media. I ain't got nothing to do with that.
All right, so Luka's basically saying, by the way, JJ said, why isn't he in the MVP conversation? He said, I don't know, maybe he complains to the refs. And I kind of thought about that for a second. You heard Luka asking, why isn't he more in the MVP conversation? I don't know. That's you guys. That's the media. I don't know if, first off, let me say this. If the Lakers don't go through this 8-game stretch where they're amazing, they're incredible, they're beating good teams, they're number 3 in the Western Conference, then I don't think he should be in the conversation. If they went 4-4 over this stretch, they're still sitting in the number 6 spot. To me, your record does mean a lot. And I do think you should be prominent in the West or the East if you're going to win the most valuable player award, because your performance should equal wins. It should equal success. It should equal being dangerous in the postseason, a chance of winning an NBA championship. So again, I'll say this. If they went 4-4 in their last 8 and they lost to a lot of good teams and Luka was still performing well, then I'd say, you know what, maybe they don't consider Luka for MVP. But the reality is Nobody's playing as good as Luka right now in the world. Nobody is. He had 100 points in a 24-hour span. Has just killer clutch shot after clutch shot. I don't want to say single-handedly carrying the Lakers in the Western Conference to the number 3 spot because there are other players contributing, but the Lakers got no shot without Luka and doing what he's doing. Here's how I'll look at this. We've seen when I don't know if Luka doesn't win it, is he going to feel slighted? Is he going to feel like, the fan or media out there, or maybe people, I don't know, they don't like Luka. Maybe he does complain too much. I don't know. But I'll tell you, I hope Luka takes whatever happens personal. So if he ends up winning the MVP, awesome. But if he doesn't win the MVP, I hope the same way Luka takes a fan disrespecting him, somebody, a player talking trash to him, something along those lines. I hope we walk into the playoffs with Luka with this kind of mantra of me against the world like he's done in some of these games. But enough of this whole he should be in the conversation. Of course he's in the conversation. The question now with Luka Doncic becomes, is he the best player in the world? That's it. I mean, there really isn't another question. And if Shea ends up winning it, all right, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, that's the best team in the world. But I don't think anyone can convince me right now that there's another player that has more value to their team than Luka has with the Lakers. You want to say Nikola Jokic? All right, I'm not going to argue it too much. If you want to say Wemby, I get where you're coming from. If you want to say Shea, I got to pause there because I really do think the Oklahoma City Thunder have a really good team. So I'm going to pause on that one. But what Luka's doing is unbelievable. And I hope, and obviously I'm talking about this selfishly, it'd be pretty damn cool if Luka won MVP, was the most valuable player in the NBA. And it's absurd if anybody thinks that he's not top 2 or top 3 in the league right now, because he is. He's looking like right now he's the best player in the world. And I have a difficult time thinking otherwise. And if somebody wants to explain something different, go ahead and let me know. But the numbers are equating to wins. What didn't happen with Luka averaging 41 over these last 8 games and 9 rebounds and 7.5 assists, what didn't happen is Lakers are struggling. He's just getting his own individual stats. The Lakers are winning because of Luka. Do you guys remember how close they were in the Western Conference, and now it's just completely opened up? Like the 3 slot, basically 1, 2, and 3 are almost decided in the Western Conference based off of what Luka has done, obviously in the West, and what he's done for the Lakers. All right, we'll start looking at some of the comments here. But that MVP conversation is not just a real conversation, but the Lakers aren't just sitting where they are. There's also something else that happened. I think probably since the first time Luka has become a Laker and was traded. I mean, just go look at what's happening. Go get on X during a game and see how many people are starting to kind of walk back different things that they were saying. I'm just kind of in the middle. Yesterday, I'm looking on Twitter, and Kendrick Perkins and Lou Williams and Boogie Cousins, all these guys are like, hey, I was wrong about this. I was wrong about Luka. I was wrong about the Lakers. Luka's causing people to panic online based on off of what he's been able to do and some of the numbers that he's putting up. He's also doing something, and I'll take a look at the comments. He's also doing something that's really unique. I think Luka is solidifying and establishing the whole, yeah, I am a Los Angeles Laker. Yes, the Dallas Mavericks were completely, how many different tweets I was reading yesterday, again, of people saying, this is the worst trade in professional history. And I have people in there, what about Babe Ruth to this? He's causing people to panic all over X because of Nico Harris and the Dallas Mavericks. How did the Lakers end up with him? But a lot of the conversation right now around Luka, it's comical in a way, but I'm obviously trying to go out of my way and make sure that I'm explaining that Luka Doncic this isn't a candidate for MVP. We're watching one of the best players in the world who is not in his prime yet. And we'll see how dangerous the Lakers can be because of Luka. All right, let's start looking at some of the comments. We'll get everybody's opinions, their thoughts on what they think here. I did mention I do have a guest, so I'll try to get to as many comments as I can. Before I do so, you guys know we do have partners that are part of the show that are a big part of the channel. and the success of the channel. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. The website is wallacewins.com/Sliwa. If you go to that URL, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, all you got to do is just go to that website, get an absolutely free consultation. He can help anybody in the state of California. An injury attorney that really genuinely does care about his clients. Insurance companies probably think he's a headache because he's going to maximize the most he can for his clients. But that's what he does. He's got a great reputation in the industry. And if anybody on this channel needs an injury attorney for whatever reason, or just needs some legal advice, start with Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. That's wallacewins.com/Sliwa. All right, let's roll here. Let's see what people are saying. Was Luka an MVP candidate 2 months ago? Nope. Half of y'all were saying how horrible he was. Now, after 12 games, he's the MVP. Doesn't work like that. Hopefully next season. Fair comment. I like the objective criticism here. Luka has always been a top 5 player all season, period. There is no conversation about that. But to be MVP, you got to be the best player in the league. Has he been top 5 in the league all season? He has. I don't think there was any point this season where you didn't think Luka Doncic is top 5 in the league. I've never said Luka's not top 5 in the league. I think, okay, maybe he's hovering around number 5 earlier in the season. So I think that the conversation, let's not pretend that Luka wasn't one of the best players in the league, putting up unbelievable stats. Maybe some of the clarity that came with the Lakers, and I have it here as one of my topics, this organizational clarity. Something I feel like has happened over these last couple of weeks. Remember when they beat New York and the statistic came up that the Lakers are now 9-2 when LeBron doesn't play and it's just AR and Luka. Remember JJ Redick has gone out of his way to say, look, as far as where the ball should be, Luka should have the ball most. He wasn't saying it like this, but he's talking about the percentages of what the hierarchy looked like with the Lakers. I think that clarity has also helped because I don't think Luka's now looking, LeBron's getting the ball. Does he not have the ball? Does Reeves have the ball? Does not? I think there's also been some more clarity from that perspective. I would agree with you more on this if Luka wasn't a top 5 player in the league all season. The difference is Lakers are now the hottest team in the NBA or one of. Luka's playing like the best player in the world. They're a number 3 seed in the Western Conference. And I think for those reasons is why you could have that conversation. That's okay for you to have a disagreement here. And I actually think it's a fair point to make. Let's see another one here. Dallas Mavericks fans were crashing out last night. Not their fault. I mean, ain't their fault. I don't blame them for crashing out. Can you imagine being a Dallas Mavericks fan and every night you're looking, you don't got to get very far before somebody tells you what Luka's numbers are. And here are a couple of his games, all right? The win against the Bulls, 51-10-9 with 3 steals and a block. The win against the Pacers, 44-9-5, 3-2. The win against the Rockets, 49-10. The win against the Heat, 67-3 with 5 steals. Yeah, I'd be crashing out too if I was a Mavs fan. Slee, you've seen the light. Given shine to Luka as a 1 to 2 3-point in the league. My only rebuttal is literally carrying the team with his all-around play. That is another thing that he does do. Obviously, what Luka's able to do, he's not just setting himself up. All of these games, he's getting opportunities to set others up as well, which is why he's averaging 8, 10, 12 assists a game. So, yeah, that point has a lot to do with it. Lakers minus Luka, lottery team. You're right about that. Thunder minus Shea, 4-7 seed in the West. They got a really good team. I mean, the Oklahoma City Thunder have a really good team. I will tell you this, and I wonder how much this matters, and I wonder how much this can come into play. Lakers still got 2 more games against the Oklahoma City Thunder. By the way, is Luka taking it personal, not only to try to beat the Oklahoma City Thunder and try to get into that conversation, but is he also taking it personal of I'm going to dominate not even dominate, because I don't think you're going to dominate against SGA. And look at all the different players OKC can throw at the. By the way, you want to talk about a big time matchup, Lakers and the Thunder, with still 2 more matchups left to go in the regular season. A lot can be considered based off of that. Let's get another one here. Can we please stop with the best player in the world stuff? It's silly. The guy hasn't won ish yet. Wait a minute here. You don't have to win an NBA championship to be considered the best player in the world. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Nikola Jokic was the best player in the world before he won an NBA championship. Victor Wembanyama, a lot of people think he's the best player in the world. He hasn't won an NBA championship yet. A lot of people have thought Luka, when he was with Dallas, is no question about it, the conversation to be the best player in the world. And I think if you asked Luka or Wemby, hey, do you want to be the best player in the world? Do you want to be a champion? They're going to want to be a champion. But there's a lot of factors that go into winning an NBA championship. And I don't think it's just solely on, did you win a champ? Shaq was the most dominating player for years before he won an NBA championship. And then finally he cashed one in and became the best player. How many years did it take LeBron to win an NBA championship? He had to go to Miami. It doesn't mean he wasn't the best player in the world. So I don't think that's apples to apples. I think there's more that comes into play with just who's the best player. All right, let's get some more in here. All right. Got a Spurs fans coming in here and dropping a 20 as well. Very very nice of you to come in here as well. By the way, this is a good conversation because I think a lot of people also disagree that Luka should be an MVP, which is completely okay. And again, the world's not going to end for me if Luka doesn't win an MVP. But what I'm telling you right now, if you don't think Luka's the best player in the world, I don't think you're watching enough Lakers basketball. What he's doing is absurd. The Lakers are winning, 3rd in the Western Conference, finally healthy, and are beating really good teams in the process. Does it mean they're going to win an NBA championship? Absolutely not. Does it mean if Shea won MVP, then Luka got screwed? No, I don't think it means he got screwed. I think, Shea is obviously making a case for himself. Wemby should be the MVP. He's been dominant offensively and by far the most dominant defensive player in the league all season with the turnaround the team has made this season. I think that's a good case. Have a good one, Slee. All right, Spurs 25-26 champs. Listen, if you want to make a case against Luka and your case is Shea plays defense and Wemby's the best defensive player in the world, I have a tough time arguing that one because I can't make that case. Granted, Luka's numbers have been a lot better defensively. He is putting up some stats on the defensive side of things, but yeah, that's a fair conversation. And here's also the difference. Shea and the Thunder do have the best record in the West. Would the Spurs crumble without Wemby? Probably would crumble. Still be better than the Lakers, but probably would crumble without Wemby. And they have the second best record. Here's what's happened. All season long, the Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs have been 1-2 in the NBA. And all season long, Shea and Wemby have obviously been critical pieces to their team. And here we are in mid-March, a little bit after mid-March, and the Lakers are just kind of shooting up the standings, and Luka is shooting up in the conversation. It's like the Thunder and the San Antonio Spurs have been at the bar for 5-6 months, and everybody knows, like, yeah, those are the two squads. And the Lakers are just kind of trying to work their way in now towards the end. And they're making a great case for it. And as the Lakers are kind of trying to fight their way into the Western Conference and say, hey, no, we should be considered a team that could get out of the West. It's almost like Luka is trying to make his case, hey, I should be considered MVP. All right, thank you for the 20 spot. Thank you for very, very kind supers today. I appreciate that. Okay, let's keep going here because that's a long conversation just about Luka. I obviously wanted to make sure that I did it, but certainly, I think it's important to obviously do that. All right, I want to play a clip here for everybody. So Brian Windhorst was on First Take, and he was talking about this Lakers team and the conversation about wanting to have a real threat? Are the Lakers a real threat in the Western Conference? And I think Brian Windhorst can always give a phenomenal perspective. I'm a big fan of Windy. Let's take a quick listen to Brian Windhorst. And I think the question that I want to have and the conversation I want to have in regards to this is the Lakers have worked their way into the conversation to now at least say, hey, they could be a headache in the Western Conference. This isn't a team that looks like, look, maybe they can be out in the first round. If they had to go up against Denver, who knows what can happen. But I think they're starting to clearly make a case that they can hang with the big boys. And the big boys would be OKC and San Antonio. Let's take a listen to Brian Windhorst.
James, the best thing I can say about the Lakers right now, LeBron believes. And this is a nuanced thing, but if you watch LeBron over the decades, there's times when you get to a point in the season where you know he doesn't believe in his team. And you can't see it in stats. You just know it when you see it. Well, I know it when I see it. LeBron believes in this team. And I don't know where they're going to go because San Antonio and Oklahoma City are awesome. And they're awesome defensively. And frankly, that's why I still got Shea at number 1, Stephen A, and MVP, because Shea plays both ends and his consistency is unbelievable. Victor Wembanyama was amazing last night. I mean, they play at both ends. And we're talking about 2 of the top defensive teams. But Luka Doncic's demeanor, he hasn't had a technical Shea in 8 games. He was averaging 1 every 3. He's put that aside right now. He's playing defense. He's playing with energy. This was a historic game. You had one guy get 60 and the other guy get a triple-double with LeBron, hit 15 rebounds. What a joy to watch the Lakers play last night.
Maybe it's this. Maybe I think this is the clarity. I think I figured it out as Windhorst was talking. Obviously, the Lakers are on a heater right now. So is Luka. OKC and San Antonio have been on a heater basically all season. And I think the conversation that, Windhorst is obviously having in regards to Shea and Wemby and what they're able to do on the defensive side, I get it. I understand it. I think Luka's playing like he looks like the best player in the world to me right now, period. And the Lakers are the hottest team in the NBA, along with San Antonio and OKC. Here's the problem with OKC and San Antonio. They've been hot for 6 months. So they've been hot since the season started, and the Lakers are obviously just trying to work their way into the conversation. The point he made about LeBron believes, I saw something on Get Up this morning where they said something to the effect of that there's clarity on the Lakers. There's structural clarity on the Lakers, that everybody kind of does know their role. I don't know if this just happened over the last 10, 12 games, but it does feel like all of a sudden we know Luka's role. We know Reeves' role. We know LeBron's role and how he's playing it. By the way, how brilliant was LeBron yesterday? I mean, how brilliant was LeBron in a second of a back-to-back? How brilliant was he in Houston, and how brilliant was he last night? Which, by the way, this is with Austin Reeves struggling. And as much as Reeves has been struggling these last few games, Lakers continue to win. So that's obviously a great sign. But a lot of that has to do with LeBron. There is clarity on this team. It was DeAndre Ayton just a couple of days ago. I get it. I know what my role is. I'm 100%, 110% bought in. There is a little bit of where everybody also believes in their own specific role. And I think that's had something to do with how the Lakers have had some of their success. All right. We'll get into some more comments here. And then I'm going to bring Jason Beede on from the Orlando Sentinel. And he is going to help us break down the Lakers and the Orlando Magic tomorrow. Let's see what we got here. I'm in South Florida, watched a game on a local feed last night. Eric Reed and John Crotty were heaping praise on Luka and the rest of the team. Went down 15, could have folded given their circumstances, but they continued to fight, found a way to win. Teams in the West are officially on notice now. I like that. Yeah, I think that's the most that you could probably do if you're the Lakers. For just a stretch of the season where they're basically playing just 500 basketball, for a stretch of the season where you didn't feel like, okay, this team can contend, where it felt like, all right, Luka's getting his. He's got a technical every 3 games like Brian Windhorst was mentioning. What Brian didn't mention is he's sitting on 15 technical fouls, which is why he's been so quiet. And I think he's complimenting the refs now, it feels like, during some of these games. But with that being said, I think under the circumstances, that's a good way to put it. At least, at the very least, the West and the rest of the NBA is turning their heads and saying, I don't know what's going on in LA, but they're playing some great ball. Lakers got a game tomorrow. Last time we connected with Jason B, this is kind of funny because Lakers were going through a stretch where they were struggling. They were playing bad basketball. And now all of a sudden, Lakers look like a real team. Jason, thank you for coming on the show again. I appreciate you joining the show. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's beautiful in Orlando today.
All right, there you go. You got some good weather. It's hot as hell out here, but we'll take it as well. It's funny, and literally one of the last few losses the Lakers have had was against the Magic. They followed it up with one more loss to the Phoenix Suns, and then they've gone on this winning streak, and they're playing as good as they are. You're out all the way on the other side of the country. How much kind of chatter is around the Lakers? What is the perception of the Lakers right now? They have won 8 in a row. Luka's been unbelievable, and they've kind of solidified themselves in that number 3 spot for now. We'll see what happens, but they got a little bit of a cushion. What are people around the league saying? What are people all the way out in Orlando saying about the Lakers?
Yeah, I think last night's win against Miami was really impressive for a number of reasons, not only because Miami has started to figure it out as well. Obviously, Bam Adebayo had 83 points very recently, but the fact that they get into Miami around 5 a.m. Eastern time on the second night of a back-to-back after playing at Houston, first of all, that's a ridiculous back-to-back for any team, let alone a team that has LeBron James at his age, at his point in his career on that. I mean, you just kind of assume that LeBron's not going to play or someone else is going to pop up in the injury report or whatever the case may be. And the fact that they have LeBron and they have Luka and they have their key guys on the floor and they find a way to win that game at Miami, I mean, it really says a lot about, I think, the toughness, the grit of this team, and the fact that there's like a level of like urgency, seriousness, like their approach is clearly working. The Magic played last night, so I wasn't able to watch a whole lot of the Lakers Heat game until afterwards, watching the highlights of Luka. But I think the key is kind of what we talked before last time. I remember you asked me, what do you make of the Lakers? And it's like, well, which way do they want to turn, Luka or LeBron? And I think you look at the last 8 games, you can kind of do it with both guys, right? Like Luka is averaging 40 points a game the past 8. He had 60 last night, 40 the night before. He has 100 points in 24 hours. And LeBron has a great, a real solid game last night. I think he's like 20 for 21 the last 2. Like, he doesn't have to be what Luka should be, which is the top scorer on the team, the driving force behind the offense. But you have this guy in LeBron where it's like, he's still LeBron James. He can still do amazing things on any given night. So, certainly in the West, I think, what you were just talking about a moment before I joined, the fact that maybe the Lakers are contenders now. Maybe they should be taken seriously because, something Jamal Mosley always talks about is wanting to play your best basketball at this time of the season. And certainly the Lakers are peaking at the right time.
Yeah, it's funny what you said too, because I think it's important to point out you're right. Luka and LeBron can do it together if they're both playing specific roles. And right. I think that's probably been the biggest adjustment for the Lakers. And I think this is for a lot of teams out there. You could have some talent, but what's been so unique about the Lakers is, well, what role does LeBron play? And LeBron, I think, continues to show throughout his career, I can put on any hat that you ask. Not every player can do that. I think if you ask Luka to play a different role, I know you're not going to get the same Luka, right? Luka's got to be on the ball. I have to play this style. And if I'm not myself, you're not going to get the best version of me. And then here's LeBron. It's like just making that adjustment of, all right, if this is our best chance of winning, let me try it out and let's see what it looks like. And now all of a sudden, he's more effective. Right. He's got actually more highlight reels. He's all of a sudden putting up monster numbers as well, triple doubles, kind of doing what he does and what makes him so special. So it's been fun to watch, but I'm always curious to see. And listen, it doesn't mean the Lakers aren't going to have some losses the rest of the way. Sure. It doesn't mean they're going to come back down to reality. By the way, I might be wrong on that because I thought they'd lose the second game against Houston. I thought they were going to lose yesterday for all the reasons that you said. And they're continuing to win, but they're certainly on a heater right now. I'm curious how they play against Orlando tomorrow. And I wonder, like I said, it's one of the few losses that the Lakers have had over this stretch. And one of them was against the Orlando Magic. Since the Lakers played Orlando, tell us a little bit how the Magic have been doing and what do you expect tomorrow in that matchup?
Yeah, I mean, if you had asked me a week ago, I would have told you a much more positive
7
perspective
wins
on
in a
Magic.
row, 8 or something like that.
Yeah, they won 7 in a row, and they beat Miami as well, similarly on the road. And then they go to Atlanta, and they kind of get not embarrassed, but you lose to a team that you should beat in your own division and on Peacock in front of a national TV audience. And it's just Atlanta's just a bad matchup for this team. And it wasn't just the fact that they lost to the Hawks in the game that. Look, Atlanta's now one of the hottest teams in the league. They've won 11 in a row. They're top in all of the offensive, defensive ratings. It's the fact that in that loss, the Magic looked like themselves from December, which is when we talk about roles being defined. Roles did not look defined. They couldn't make a shot. They couldn't defend at the high level that they wanted to. And the problem with that loss against Atlanta, not only is it in your own division. And also to a team behind you in the standings, the battle for playoff positioning is so tight in the East. 6 through 10 is unbelievable right now. It also happened on the first night of a back-to-back, and the second night of a back-to-back, they had to go back to Orlando and play the Thunder. So you kind of put yourself in not an automatic 2-game losing streak, because certainly the Magic played better than a lot of us expected on that second night against Oklahoma City, but it would have taken a perfect game even if they had the rest to beat the Thunder, just because Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the league MVP, just because they're so good this season. And of course, they're the defending champions. So they lose back-to-back games after winning 7 in a row. And they felt, talking to Desmond Bain, talking with the guys, they felt, pretty decent about where they were. They understood that they dropped a couple games, but they felt confident. And then last night they go to Charlotte, and that just was not Orlando Magic basketball. I mean, they fell down by 35 points. Jamal Mosley was ejected in the second quarter for complaining at Scott Foster. And just everything went wrong. And now look, there is also a reality that they've now been without Franz Wagner for, way more than they had anticipated originally. Anthony Black has missed a stretch of games. Wendell Carter Jr. was unavailable last night. Jonathan Isaac's been hurt as of late. It just seems to be a thing where, had they won that Hawks game and you lose the Thunder, you split that, that back to back, and maybe you play a little bit better at Charlotte, you're feeling decent about yourself. And now you're on a 3-game losing streak, hosting the Lakers, who are a red hot team tomorrow. So that's where it starts to snowball, and that's my concern.
Are there some of the injuries that you mentioned? So for tomorrow, I know the last time Lakers played the Magic, Wagner didn't play. Right. Neither did Jalen Suggs. Where are they health-wise? Do you have any idea for tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm not, Franz is still working his way back. He's been dealing with this high ankle sprain. His left high ankle sprain has been bothering him for an extended run now. He went down in early December. And look, that when that injury took place, it looked like a season-ending injury. It's kind of grown into one. He's still working to come back, but he's only played 4 times in the past 45 games or something like that. So, he's still trying to work back, but, he's not going to be back tomorrow or at least anytime soon, even though time is running out for him to return before the postseason. Anthony Black was someone who, had been playing really well. He suffered it looked like a back injury at first, but it ended up being more of an abdominal muscle strain on the road at Minnesota. He kind of torqued his back the wrong way, and he hasn't really been on the court much as of late. I don't know exactly how that's developed over the past couple of days, but when we spoke to Jamal Mosley before the road trip or before the game up to Charlotte, he had said he hadn't even been on the court yet. And then Wendell Carter yesterday was a late scratch. He wasn't even on the injury report until 2:00 Eastern time, for a 7:00 tip, and he's dealing with a rib injury. So I'll be curious to see. I really wouldn't expect Franz or Anthony or Jonathan Isaac to play, but Wendell Carter, could potentially be questionable. They listed it as a mild contusion on his ribs, and Jamal Mosley kind of hinted at the fact that they could get a guy back for this weekend. So we'll see, but certainly, it's just one of those things where it felt like they had, even without Franz, won 7 in a row, and kind of found their groove a little bit, and they knew how to find a way to win games. And now they've lost 3 in a row, hosting the Lakers, which is just a tough challenge.
Yeah, the Lakers have had this, at least over this stretch of these 8 games. I mean, obviously Luka's been incredible, but they've had a little bit of a killer mentality as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if, they smell a little blood in the water, maybe want a little revenge against the Orlando Magic. It'll be interesting how the Lakers, I mean, if they can win tomorrow, they'll start out a 6-game road trip 4-0. Obviously, that would say a lot right there. And we'll see what the Lakers end up doing. I still think it's going to be a tough game. If I'm looking at the Eastern Conference, as you know, you sit here and you're covering the Magic every single game. You're paying close attention to what other teams are doing around, certainly what they're doing around Orlando, but specifically in the Eastern Conference. 6 through 10, like you mentioned, is a 2.5 game separation. But I could also look at, 5 through. I mean, there's so many teams that are close together.
Yeah.
Of all these teams in the Eastern Conference, what teams are dangerous outside of that, let's say, top 4? Are there teams out there that you think could have a big upset in the first round? Are there teams out there that you think would be just a huge headache to face in the playoffs? And I'm saying outside of the Pistons, the Celtics, the Knicks, and the Cavs, which I think, obviously have solidified themselves. We'll talk about them as well. But what team or teams would be dangerous in the East?
I actually think it is the Magic. And I think some of that leans on whether or not Franz Wagner can actually return. You looked at the way they played during that 7-game winning streak. I mean, Paolo Banchero was one of 2 players averaging like 25, 9, and 5.
He killed the Lakers. He killed the Lakers in that game.
The only other guy was Nikola Jokic. I mean, I think when Banchero was able to attack the basket, post up, get deep in the paint, and score at will, he's really, really impressive, because then that leads to the kickouts to Desmond Bane, to Jalen Suggs. Even without Franz Wagner, they looked really good during that stretch. And if they are able to get Franz back, I think Anthony Black's going to be able to return here eventually. And of course, Wendell Carter, they feel like it's pretty mild. When they do have everything working and players in their right spots, the Magic are really good. I mean, that's the reality. They look really good at times, but they also are just inconsistent. And, the injuries are a reality of that. But I wouldn't say if Franz can come back before the playoffs, not many teams would want to face Orlando. I mean, I think Atlanta, when they made all of those trades at the deadline, a lot of people around the league thought, okay, Atlanta's, moving on from this season. But certainly Jalen Johnson has been absurd as of late. And Orlando saw that, up close and personal. But I think Orlando and Atlanta are the 2 teams that, especially with I say Orlando specifically because of their physicality. Like, they've been in the playoffs the last 2 years. That's the knock on Toronto, is that they haven't proven anything. Now, Orlando hasn't won a series in those first 2 rounds, but they've taken, Cleveland a couple of years ago to 7 games, and they played a really tough Boston team. Even though they lost in 5, a lot of those games are uber competitive. So I just think if they're able to get Franz Wagner back, I wouldn't want to match up with them. I mean, if you look at the standings and you're in New York or Boston, you're saying, I want Toronto, not Orlando in the first round. So
sure.
I think there's a little bit of that to that, but at the same time, I'm just worried about the reaction of what they decide to do with Franz Wagner, whether or not he can return, and how that impacts things. But like you said, it's incredibly close. And, the Magic, they've lost 3 straight. There was a point where Orlando, Atlanta, Miami were all on these 7-8 game win streaks, and now Atlanta's up to 11. So it's a fun race to follow.
It's funny. I was looking at about a week ago. I was looking at the road trip. Lakers were about to start this road trip, and less than a week ago. And I looked, and I'm like, damn, look at Orlando and Miami, and both of them were on the 7 game win streaks, whatever they were. And then by the time Lakers played Miami, they're on a 2-game losing streak. By the time they're playing Orlando, they're on a 3-game losing streak. So a little bit of reality. Last one I got for you.
Life changes fast.
Oh yeah.
It really does. I mean, and look, if the Lakers lose tomorrow, let's say Banchero comes out, Bane shoots lights out, you're worried about them, right? But it's you can't just take it. You have to look at it from the bigger picture and then see their full body of work.
Yeah, I think the big thing, it sounds like, with Orlando, they just got to be healthy. And if they are healthy, then they could be a real headache. Final one I have for you, and we'll stay on the Eastern Conference here for a quick second. So I mentioned, some of these teams that could be dangerous outside of the top 4. When you do look at the top 4, is there a case to be made for – I mean, again, I'm not watching every one of these games in the Eastern Conference, but I've kind of just made the assumption that the Boston Celtics are going to be in the NBA Finals again. Do you share that same sentiment, or do you think that they could really have some trouble. And especially now, I think I wouldn't have picked the Pistons either way, just because, I don't know how much confidence I would have with them in the postseason, everything around Cade Cunningham. But because of Cade Cunningham now missing, we'll see how much time he misses. Is it everyone chasing the Celtics, or do you feel otherwise?
It is strange because Detroit is now 4 games up on Boston. They've won their last 2, but they're 5-5 in the last 10, and there's concern about Cade. I just think you look at Boston, they've already proven they can win without Jason Tatum, right? They've had this spectacular season until he returned, and now he's back, and he looks amazing. I mean, he looks spectacular, and they have Joe Mazzulla, and
he's got enough time. Tatum's got also enough time to work his way back, and no rush. So.
Yeah, no, I just think it's one of those things where Detroit has to prove it. I mean, they've proven it a ton already, and it's unfortunate that Cade might run into that 65 game rule. I'm sure you've talked about that plenty, at least in terms of other players around the league. Obviously New York, has made they made a deep run last year as well. You look at Cleveland with James Harden, they're obviously good, but that playoff performance, what that's going to look like is unclear. I just think Boston is they're trustworthy. They've proven it before, and they just got Jason Tatum back. Like, if Jason Tatum wasn't what he had hoped to be when he returned, or his
more up in the air,
or whatever it might be, or his run up to the playoffs wasn't long enough, okay, that would be a little bit different. But the fact that they've been in a stride all season, and they got Tatum back, who looks just like his old self. It's really hard to see them not coming out of the East. But look, Detroit can prove otherwise, and Cade can prove otherwise, and they've done so for a lot of this season. They're the number 1 seed in the East for a reason. They've had Orlando's number up close as well, and there's just a lot of teams that the East is actually a really strong conference. They just don't have a lot of experience in the playoffs over multiple years. That have proven it. Otherwise, Boston has that, and I think that's why the Celtics are should be back there as well.
Yeah, Pistons have done nothing wrong. They just haven't proven it in the playoffs. I think if there's, I'll give you one example, and maybe it's not a great example, but I think the only hesitation you would have against the San Antonio Spurs is, well, Wemby's never been in the postseason,
right?
And their lack of experience. And there was a time where you were saying the same thing about the Thunder, and there was a time that you were saying this is a. It's an
part of the maturation process in the NBA.
100%.
Really,
and it has, and until Detroit proved otherwise, then I think there will be that hesitation. All right, Lakers got the Orlando Magic coming up tomorrow. That tip off, what did we say? 4:00, I think, out here on the West Coast. Jason, always appreciate the time. Thank you for helping us preview the game.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
All right, that is Jason Beede right there. Good stuff from him, joining us here and getting us ready for the Lakers and the Orlando Magic tomorrow. Isn't that kind of funny? Yeah, there is a little, there's kind of a part of me now that I'm going to shut up, because if I say, I think the Lakers are going to win tomorrow, then I'm just going to keep it shut, because I don't want to jinx the Lakers here. But now you're kind of walking into that game tomorrow. It's like, yeah, well, of course the Lakers are going to handle business. I'll leave it alone, and we'll see what eventually happens. And hopefully the Lakers obviously can make it 9 games in a row. But Lakers and the Magic tomorrow, obviously that game's coming up. So I wanted to preview that game a little bit, as Orlando is struggling over these last couple of weeks, or at least this last week or so. Shout out to Harrah's Resort SoCal. You're looking for a staycation. If you are looking to try to get away and you want to be very, very smart about how you do it and strategic with how you do it, there's no better place to go in Southern California than Harrah's Resort SoCal. You can get in your car. You could be at the resort between 1 and 2 hours. You can enjoy all the unbelievable amenities, whether it's the phenomenal restaurants like Hell's Kitchen, Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen, or potentially Rita's Cantina that overlooks the pool. It's just a beautiful property. It's located in North San Diego in the Palomar Mountains. They have a special for our listeners. You get 20% off when you book. If you book something weekday, you get 20% off. And it is just literally that simple. They're a partner of the channel, and they want to take care of our listeners. So if you are considering a staycation, we put all the dates up here so you have an idea. You obviously get an opportunity to see it hopefully you guys will consider Harrah's Resort SoCal for the next time that you're looking to go vacation or take the family somewhere. You got a lot of amenities that's there for anybody, whether you're going with a friend or you're going with the couples, whatever the case is, or you're taking the family out there with the kids. They got amenities for everybody. Shout out to Harrah's Resort SoCal. The website, harrahsocal.com, harrahsocal.com. All right, final piece of the show here that we're going to spend some time on. Let's take a look at some of the comments. Let's hang out with our people here and see what people got to say. Let's see what we got here. Let's get John Wayne giving us a super here. Thank you, John. Let's see what we got here. Hold up. Wemby credits LeBron's belief in what? Luke Kennard, because this is the same squad he said wasn't a championship team. Wemby credits. Oh, I think you're talking about Windy. I think he's saying Windhorse because we played that Windhorse clip. Let me see if I can understand this. Because it's the same squad he said wasn't a championship team. No, JJ finally gave Luka the keys to the bus, and Bron is sitting quietly in his assigned seat. I think there's some truth to this. I actually think there's some truth to this. LeBron did say that they weren't a championship team. He wasn't wrong because they definitely weren't a championship team earlier in the season. And I think this piece about JJ finally gave Luka the keys to the bus and asked Bron, I don't think you got to throw in the stay quietly in your assigned seat. I think it was more, here's your role, and here's your role. And if everyone can play their role, this is the best shot that we have. And I think Bron is playing their role. Now, John is putting it a certain way to make sure that there's a little bit of a shot at LeBron. But the reality is, I think there is some truth to this comment. And I also think there is some truth in saying that LeBron's been brilliant as well. He is playing a role for the Lakers. And it is the best chance that the Lakers have to have some sustained success this year. He's got to play a role. And there's no, I don't think there's any other way of putting it. Reeves has got to play a role. Marcus Smart's got to play a role. DeAndre Ayton's got to play a role. The difference with LeBron's role is his ceiling is a lot higher than a lot of those other people, but he does have to play a role. And Luka does have the keys, and Luka's not only driving, he's telling everybody, here's where we're stopping. He's mapping out everything for the Lakers right now, and he's obviously been able to do that, and more players are jumping on that bus. Denver is still a dangerous team for any team first round, no question about it. I've said this before. I would prefer that the Lakers do not get Denver in the first round. If it happens, it happens. But imagine that path. Denver in the first round, San Antonio in the second round, OKC in the third round. There is not a more difficult path in the NBA, period. So, and that's not dodging teams or any of that stuff. The Lakers are going to be the number 3 spot the way it's playing out here. And if they're going to be the number 3 spot, then the question just becomes, well, what does 4, 5, and 6 look like? That's going to be the question. And the Lakers can't worry about that. They got to worry about their own team. Interesting. I really did have Orlando in my top 3 out of the East in the preseason. They are really underrated when healthy. I think their biggest problem is they can't get healthy. That's the problem. They can't get healthy. How about Atlanta winning 11 games in a row? Who's Atlanta beating? You know what I did not think I was going to do in this morning show? I didn't think I'd be breaking down the Atlanta Hawks schedule, but I got to look at this. If you've won 11 in a row, I need to know what the hell is going on with the Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta's won 11 in a row. Here's who they've beat. Mavs, Magic, Bucks, Nets, Mavericks, Sixers, Bucks. So really not a good team yet. Blazers, Wizards, still not a good team. Wizards again, and the Nets. Damn. They've beat a lot of bad teams. They're at the Rockets coming up tonight. So this will be the first time that they actually play a good team. They beat a lot of bad teams. All those teams are bad. Who's the best team in there? Maybe Orlando. Yeah, all those other teams are bad. So, all right. I feel different about Atlanta now. I talked myself out of believing in them. All right, let's do this. LeBron was reassigned to the co-pilot. I mean, technically, Alex, I think the idea and the concept was he wasn't even going to be the co-pilot. I think the idea was Reeves was going to be the co-pilot, and he'd sit in the third seat, but He's been so special. He is the co-pilot. John, thank you for the super, by the way. Guys, what's going on here? Throwing out money like they got their tax return back already. I appreciate it. Thank you. We had that one earlier. We have this one for what's going on? Buddy, relax. Take a deep breath. I mean, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Those supers are very kind. So thank you. Appreciate you guys doing that. Very, very kind of everybody. Okay. Here's what we got going on the rest of the show. Got a couple NBA stories that I want to get into. And I got the weekend preview, and then we're going to call it a day. So thank you for being here all week, by the way. Appreciate the support of the channel. Appreciate the support of the show. 10 a.m., we got a member show coming up. So if you're a member, we'll get a member show going. No coffee and pastries today. Sorry, I can't go. Last week, I went and just posted up at a coffee shop and just started eating pastries during the member show, which is actually pretty fun. All right, couple stories around the NBA, and then we'll do the weekend preview, and then we will call it a week until tomorrow night. Lakers now kind of building themselves a cushion in that Western Conference. They are in a great spot at the number 3 spot. So as they continue to win, they're kind of separating themselves from, Minnesota still a 2-game cushion, but they got the tiebreaker. 2-game cushion on the Rockets, plus they got the tiebreaker. So we'll see what happens the rest of the way, but Lakers putting themselves in a good spot. Spurs beat the Suns yesterday. Unfortunately for the Phoenix Suns, it looked like Devin Booker got hurt on the final play. Wemby hits a game winner. They clinch a playoff spot to end a 6-year playoff drought. So something to keep in mind in regards to that. That's kind of interesting to see. I saw this yesterday. This does not help any of the fans out there that look at, that obviously look at that Luka trade. Mark Spears put out, Wizards say Anthony Davis, I'm not going to say the injury, say the volar plate tissue in his left hand has not yet fully healed. Davis will continue with conservative treatment and advance his basketball activity as tolerated. He'll be reevaluated at the end of the month. So why would you play Anthony Davis any more games here? Again, every time you think of Anthony Davis, and the guy is a champion, he was a brilliant player, but unfortunately AD is also going to be very closely tied to the Luka trade and all of his injuries. So something to keep in mind in regards to that. All right, let's do the weekend preview here. And we could start looking at some of the games coming up here in the NBA. Weekend preview, of course, is presented by Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. Let's see if there's any good games here. Hawks and the Rockets could be a good game. Couple teams in the West here. Raptors and the Nuggets. So they're playing at Denver. So obviously the Lakers keeping an eye on Denver, even though they built now a 4-game cushion with that tiebreaker. Trailblazers playing the Minnesota Timberwolves. So another team in the Western Conference that has some games coming up. Let me just look tomorrow. I know Lakers got the Magic. Let's see who else plays, if there's any other good games here. Heat and the Rockets. That's pretty much it. All the other games, to be honest with you, are not all that great. Okay, the final thing I do want to mention for the weekend preview, and then we'll call it a day. So obviously we're in the middle, the heart of March Madness right now. Could I be honest with everybody? I have watched nothing of March Madness. Here's a question I have for people about March Madness. Do I just have no interest, or does nobody have any interest? Does it feel like March Madness used to be a lot bigger and it's just lost its thunder? Help me out here. Is it just me, or are there a lot of people that just no longer care about the tournament? Yes, maybe some of it has to do with my school not being there, but I don't know. I feel like it's lost a lot of its thunder. Anyways, as the tournament goes on, I'm sure I'll watch some games. I didn't watch anything yesterday because the Lakers had a game, so maybe I'll watch some of the games tonight. But is it just me, or is that kind of a real thing where it's just not as big as it used to be? We'll read a couple final comments here, and then we'll call it a day. Let's see what we got here. Just you. Okay. Maybe it's just me. March Madness is real basketball. The NBA is just narratives, okay? Honestly, I don't care. Didn't know March Madness was happening. So apparently, it's not just me, David. Okay? Got some other people on here as well that feel the same way. Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't do it for me anymore. I used to love freaking March Madness. Fill out the bracket, get all ready. Now I'm like, what? What happened? It started already? I didn't even know yesterday that it started. Maybe my attention is going towards the Lakers. Maybe if the Lakers were struggling, pay more attention to March Madness. All right. That's all we got for today. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. Back on at 10 a.m. for members. Back on tomorrow after the Lakers take on the Orlando Magic. Tip off at 4 p.m. tomorrow. So the way it kind of times out, 7 o'clock I will start the postgame show. So it's usually 3 hours from whatever time the game starts. Listen to a little post-game. Spectrum, I listen a little bit to JJ Redick, and then I come on. So don't forget tomorrow. And then we're back on Monday morning. We'll get, obviously, our show going again. The Lakers will play the Pistons coming up on Monday. All right, everybody. Solid week. Thank you for the supers. Shout out to our partners. Thank you to everybody all week long for making it happen. I will see you guys on Monday morning for this show. I'll see you guys tomorrow after Lakers take on the Magic, and I'll see you if you're a member at 10 a.m. Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of your day.